Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching this channel. Welcome. Bonjour, bedasagain, indejna kaz, megazin ondam, boating donjaba. Again, that was a greeting in my Ojibwe language. Welcome to the Veteran's View, where I, myself a veteran, discuss political topics going on in our First Nations community. And today I'm going to discuss I guess basically what we gave up in this Robinson Huron Treaty area. Everybody's all distracted now by all this money that we're supposed to be getting, that we're not going to get, and blinded by the Jonias, and then realizing on the other hand of the stick on what we gave up for this. So I'm going to start off on just reading what Canada's first Prime Minister declared when he brought in the Indian Act. So, the great aim of our legislation has been to do away with the tribal system and assimilate the Indian people in all respects with the other inhabitants of the Dominion as speedily as they are fit to change. So, right from the beginning, the great aim of the legislation was to do away with the tribal system. Well, John A. Macdonald and his forefathers are probably looking down from wherever they're at or down below, however you want to say it, and they're smiling right now. The tribal system has been completely eroded away, where a small elected group is going to determine the mass. And, with this Robinson Huron Treaty, we gave up basically our land again. Our land was stolen from us again. Over the years, that's all we really had was to maneuver a little bit is our land, and I would go back to 1763, the King George's Proclamation, where anything westward of the Appalachians was the indigenous of these lands, which is us. So that's some deeper history there. I suggest, maybe Google and go take a look at the King George's Proclamation and understand a little bit, because that's how majority of our treaties are settled, just by that proclamation alone. I want to bring to attention that the federal government, Justin Trudeau's Liberals, have settled the most land claims in the history of any prime minister combined. So all the prime ministers before Justin Trudeau has settled the most land claims. I say this because along with those land claims that were settled, a little piece of paper comes back after, and it's a land sharing agreement. And basically, they stole our land back. And the reason I'm saying this is because Canada, along with the United States, started this 30 by 30 initiative that comes direct from the United Nations. Joe Biden has already successfully started doing this, and Justin Trudeau is as well. So we have the United Nations dictating what to do to the indigenous, and we all thought they were supposed to help us. But basically, with this conservation agreement that all these signatories signed that want to say they did best for our people, they sold us out, and our people should be outraged. My heart hurts. It really does, because in Batchewana First Nation, they're giving us 30%, or they're taking 30% of the money. We can protest, shut down everything, try to make that change, but it's not. And with that little bit of money they're giving us, they also sold us out. That's why they've been all hush, hush, quiet, waited till the last minute to release this portal, because people can start reading it. And and it is a settlement, but when the government words it a benefit, What a disgrace. What a disgrace. You know, all those signatories that sat there profited heavily off the backs of their people for years. And then they turn around and do this. The only thing we had left was land, and now it's officially gone. We can never get that back unless we don't accept this money. You know, and we rehash this agreement or benefit, whatever they want to throw at us. But with the conservation agreement that the federal government signed with all these treaty negotiations settled, the Trudeau government will work with partnerships of the Indigenous people. So basically, we were approached saying that we weren't taking care, or sorry, correction, we weren't managing our lands properly. So the government basically, you know, along with this treaty, made our chiefs, which will probably come to light soon, about this conservation agreement. And so, right from the AFN, Trudeau bribed our leadership, you know, almost $1 billion, the AFN, you know, God, I think it was 800, 900 million, I can't remember, to agree to this conservation agreement or the 30 by 30 initiative from the UN. Google that, you know, you'll be enlightened. So in order for Trudeau to be successful with this 30 by 30 initiative, let's settle all the land claims, and then in return, we're going to take the Indians' land back and put it under this conservation agreement. So what that means is, eventually, our very own people are going to tell us that we cannot hunt, fish, mine, take anything from our lands because it's conservation. So basically, they stole our land along with the United Nations. And those signatories, they should hang their heads in shame right now and be embarrassed. You know, you wonder why they never want to show their faces around their communities or anything, because they know what they did. You know, and I find it every morning, you know, to try to pray for these people, these so-called leaders. You know, they've got swayed again. We've got tricked again. Our land was stolen. The way I know this is, yes, it's a conservation agreement. Yes, we're blinded by that. And yes, oh, it sounds like a great idea. But the federal government can amend the agreement at any time, which means they can give the land to anyone, including China, BlackRock, or even Bill Gates, or whoever they see fit. So say in Batchewana First Nation, you know, any in the Robinson Huron Treaty with the settlement, anybody can come in these lands now and develop and do whatever, and there's nothing we can do. You know, the traditional minded people and the grassroots people that, you know, are thinking traditionally and are trying to think for the future, and them throwing these words fiduciary and conservation agreements and treaty settlements, all kinds of stuff, you know, is extremely frustrating. So for now, our communities will provide enforcement to take care of our lands. You know, let our people hunt and fish. You know, maybe we're going to be forced to get a license now or whatever. You know, I can see changes in that happening. This is an insult because our people still live in poverty, in the worst conditions imaginable. You know, but all our leaderships will take their chunks of money and say they're doing a good thing. You know, they'll continue to stay that way until the corruption is weeded out. You know, 800 million can go a long way to some of these northern communities that are living in the worst conditions possible. You know, they take care of the wrong kind of Indian in this country. You know, and our so-called Indian agents, our leadership continues to dig us in a hole, throw a bunch of verbiage at the people and not understand what's going on. I think this is the time where the people should rise up and understand their true power, because it's officially gone. It's gone. The land's been stolen back by the Trudeau government. Basically saying, Trudeau is saying we are too stupid to properly take care of our own land, and he has to steal the land back and control it, and the land and us. So 30% of the land by 2030 is a 30 by 30 initiative. And Trudeau signing all these settlements, these treaties, land claims, and everything that's been settled. We were bribed. The leadership were bribed, wined and dined, treated like the best, these good Indians. You want to look at some of these signatories that signed this agreement, they sit with the Liberal government. One of those very chiefs was running for the Liberal Party of Canada. So the very country that oppressed us, we have leaders wanting to run in that very system. That hasn't worked for us. As long as we're under the Indian Act, it's never going to change. Our people are still going to face the corruption, the poverty, and everything else because in Batchewana First Nation, 9 people dictate to 3,200. Even though the majority is saying one thing, they're going to say, oh, we know what's better for the Indian. We're going to give you what we think is right for you. And basically, we're going to take the rest. I've lost all kinds of faith in these systems that have been put in here by just this Robinson Huron benefit. I laugh because the government, this is basically another CERB benefit, just a few extra digits. Not this money isn't even enough to buy a house in these lands. And they're still going to take 30% of it, and realizing that the government will continue giving their funding to their First Nations the way they see fit. And yet they want to take our money and put it in trusts, so-called. Any trusts across these lands that First Nations have put into have been belly up. It's been a sham because the corruption is still wildly fucking flowing. And I feel for the traditional minded people because John A. Macdonald is a successful. He's successful. I'd encourage every one of you in the Robinson Huron Treaty area, start standing up. Maybe don't take the money that they're giving us. If we all didn't take the money, they would have to revisit and maybe let the people be involved in these negotiations instead of being dictated to. This isn't the fucking 80s or 70s where we're all sitting around with a case of beer, drinking our faces off and, really no motivation. We've all got life experience now. We've all, in some aspect, have education, left our communities, went out and made something for ourselves. But, what hasn't changed? Our band offices. Every 2 years, it's a cycle. The division is real. Our people are so divided that this is going to go through. We're going to take whatever little money we have, and in return, our lands are all gone, and our future generations will suffer because at the end of the day, we're a colonized people. We don't even want to think of the traditional minds in those chairs, And I question, there's people that sit on these tables that are traditional people, that turn pipe, healers, Medewan people. Where does the conflict, come within when you understand what the system is doing? And then you to sit there and be a traditional minded person and try to play that system the best you can. It doesn't work. We really need to go back to our clan systems and there's communities across these lands that have become sovereign and not dependent and not told how to run things. That's why I call them Indian agents, because when the Indian agents did leave the communities, what was put into place? The Indian Act. And the Indian agents enforced the Indian Act on their people. So in closing, I'd like to say miigwech for listening. My heart is heavy today. Trying to bring some of this information to you. I sat on it for a little bit, but I think I'll put it out there, give me some peace of mind. Maybe start a different discussion amongst the people. But my heart hurts. We were sold out again. And the more that gets out, the stronger we could be as a people. But again, our lands were stolen from us, from this federal government. We were getting a little bit of Jonias. What happened to the hundreds of billions that the Jaganash economists said that we were owed? Hundreds of billions. We settled for 10 billion and basically gave up all our land again. So until the next video, Bama Pigawamin, stay vigilant. Again, if any people want to get out there and reach me, again, I'll put my email down below. Maybe we can all get together, the grassroots people, in one location and let them feel the pressure of the people for once. I'll also put, again, the Crown Relations Minister, whatever you want to call him, and maybe rattle his chains a little bit more. Personally, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the medals that I earned in this Canadian Army and I'm going to send them back to the King and say that he's not honoring his end of the deal. See if I get a response back, because our leadership don't even want to listen to us. They're just going to continue to do as they do because they're not accountable to the people. So have a great day. Enjoy the sun. The weather's been a little bit different. Put your sema down. Turn your pipe. Trust that the Creator is taking care of us, because I sure don't believe that our elected leaders, Indian agents, are doing so. So again, Bama Pigawamen, stay vigilant, be safe.